Hello and welcome to the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Sturgeon.
And I'm Russell Sorry.
This podcast is about all things Wisconsin, history, music, and culture.
While drinking a few brews.
Though we don't often use strong language, the jokes and the content is not intended for young audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Before we begin the episode, we have to give a huge shout out to the Dangits from Madison, Wisconsin, for providing us with great bluegrass intro you hear at the beginning of every episode. The song Razzle was written by Jamie Lampkins, but is performed on behalf of Tom Wasselchuk and the Dangits. If you have a chance, check these guys out at dang-its.com for upcoming shows, music, or on how to book them for weddings, parties, and etc. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 11 of Wisconsin Drunken History. Today's main story is Go Pack Go! We are going to be going over the origins of the Green Bay Packers. We will feature another edition of How Many Loco You At? This Day in Wisco History. And we will feature music from Milwaukee's own Honey Creek. We also have a very special interview with CheezHead Brewing. So why don't you go ahead and grab a cold one, and let's get this thing started. So the date is August 11th, 1919. A semi-pro football team is quietly born in a dingy second-floor editorial room in the old Green Bay Press-Gazette building. It is unknown who or exactly how many individuals were present during this meeting, and there's no real prior announcement made that's notifying anyone of this meeting. So on August 13th, roughly 2 days later, the Press-Gazette announced that the Indian Packing Company would sponsor, and this was the first time that the Packers name was referenced. A second meeting was held August 14th, with nearly 25 players in attendance. And now, back in these days, it's essentially high school players from East and West. The best of the best from the last few years. It was at this meeting where Curly Lambeau was elected captain of the team and George Whitney Calhoun was named the manager. In the inaugural season, the opponents were primarily from neighboring cities and towns, just in the northeastern Wisconsin area, and then Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The Packers finished with a 10-1 record, so already dominant. Home games were played at Hagemeister Park, which had no fences or bleachers or anything. A collection plate or hat was passed around at each game to collect any spare change. That was basically used to cover any expenses that might have been back then. I mean, they used leather helmets if there were helmets. They used oversized pants with like a normal Wrangler belt or whatever. So it's not like they were collecting for big expenses, just for anything that might need to be paid for. The second season was again an independent schedule against mostly neighboring towns, and the Packers once again dominated clearly with a record of 9 wins, 1 loss, and a tie. In July, C.M. Neil Murphy, a local typewriter salesman, was named business manager, and he quickly organized a committee to build a fence around Hagemeister Park so the Packers could charge some sort of admission fee and start gaining some sort of capital, A few months later, thanks to Indian Packing, the local Association of Commerce, local contractor Ludolf Hansen, and fans who provided volunteer labor, started construction on the fence. Their first game in late September was right around the time that they started constructing, and by mid-October, they had two large sections of bleachers, the fence, everything was erected and well in stage. So they were ready to rock and roll. It would allow all the fans that were coming to those games at the time to sit comfortably and watch at a safe location, because prior to that, they were watching from the sides of the field, which is where extra players, coaches, staff. Everybody was located on those parts. So
Yeah, I've seen some vintage
Yeah.
footage where they're just sitting right out there. There's nothing blocking. You can see the Packers playing right on.
right.
You know?
And in today's NFL, a lot of coaches and staff and personnel, they're running up and down the field just as much as the players on field are doing. So if you can imagine any fans or spectators being on the field side, getting trampled by a coach who's just running up and down. And then now remember, this was back in the times when people wore suits and ties to just about everything. But definitely crazy to imagine, right? And now it costs you, a couple $100 to go try to see a game.
Right.
So in August of 1921, the 1-year-old American Professional Football Association awarded a franchise to the Acme Packers of Green Bay during a league meeting that was held in Chicago. The Acme Packing Company had purchased the Indian Packing Company 8 months earlier. So less than a year later, the APFA would change its name to the National Football League, which we all know today, obviously.
Yep.
Most of the league's other members were located in small hotbeds for football and were significantly larger cities than Green Bay. Green Bay was the smallest city in the league when it joined in 21, and has remained the smallest market in the NFL ever since. So the Packers won their inaugural league game against the Minneapolis Marines. That was on October 23rd of 1921. They were able to book games with the formidable Chicago Staleys, later known as the Bears.
Formidable. That's a nice term to put it. Like,
right.
F the Bears, dude.
Yep. No, I agree.
I hate the Bears.
The Bears, the Cubs. I mean, just about any other team in that area. I don't respect them. And whether that's the teams themselves or if it's the fans that really give them a bad name, but nope.
Yep.
Not even an option. So the other team there in Chicago was the Cardinals back then. They finished with a winning record of 3-2-1, so 3 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. A scandal nearly doomed all they had accomplished. So on December 4th, 1921, in a completely non-league game against Racine, billed as Battle of the State Championship, the Packers used 3 Notre Dame players who still had college eligibility left under their names. They used these players under assumed names, and they got caught. 2 months later, the league removed the Green Bay Packers, albeit not for long. Thanks to Curly Lambeau, his persistence, and the impression the Green Bay Packers had made already on other clubs and owners during its first season, the Packers were reinstated at the next meeting in June. So we're still good at that point. We obviously, and this wasn't even a league game. So the fact that it mattered as much probably was also questioned and reconsidered, that it wasn't like they were doing this against the league, other teams, and it wasn't during the league games. It was just a totally fun side, game. So in Thanksgiving 1922, a 12-hour rainfall ruined what was supposed to be Booster Day, contributing to a sparse crowd for this non-league game against Duluth. And another financial disaster is basically happened. Club officials nearly canceled the game, but were persuaded to play by a fella named Andrew Turnbull. He's one of the owners of the Green Bay Press-Gazette. So on November 30th, 1922, marked a turning point in the history of the Packers. Andrew Turnbull promised that if club officials went ahead with the game, he would get the Green Bay's business community to rally behind the team once the season ended. So true to his word, Andrew Turnbull led the effort to create the nonprofit Green Bay Football Corporation before the start of the 23 season. The Packers were now a community-owned team. The investors, the fans.
Awesome.
So this is where that all begins. Yeah. We know now, that that's the case.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't want to go into it too much, but I know like a lot of people contribute like a share to it, and a lot of those players are actually paid by local people in Wisconsin.
Right.
You know.
So when the Packers announced that Vince Lombardi would be the new head coach in 1959, a very popular question among the fans and people even around the league was, who the hell is Lombardi? Well, we would quickly learn who the hell he was. Capturing 5 world titles, including Super Bowls 1 and 2, would certainly help earn the Packers the team of the 60s and one of the greatest dynasties of NFL history.
One of the gods of Wisconsin.
Right. I mean, this is and so we know now that during, NFL seasons, we know some of the assistant coaches around the league. A lot of them get talked about just as much as other, head coaches or players. In this time, Lombardi was an assistant coach rather of the New York football team. Like a running backs coach, I think is what he was. Nobody knew who this guy was. He was in New York for 8 seasons as an assistant coach before the Packers announced that he would be the head coach of this, then storied football team.
It's cool that the Packers kept the history too. Like obviously Lambeau Field, Lombardi,
Yep.
The Lombardi Trophy.
They really
definitely.
they pay homage to anybody who's done right, in the history or to the organization. Even up to street names and things in the town of Green Bay as well. So
Title Town.
Right. Mike. The Packers would find new success after decades of disparity and sadness after the Lombardi era, usher in the new era of Mike Holmgren, Mike Sherman, and Mike McCarthy. Legends. The Green Bay Packers have an extremely rich history of winning and success. Since 1929, the Packers have won 13 championships. That's 1929, 1930, 1931, 1936, 1939, 1944, 1961, 1962, 1965, 1966, 1967, 1996, and 2010. To this day, the 1929 through 1931 and the 1965 through 1967 Green Bay Packers teams are the only ones to have won 3 straight NFL titles. Now, the 1921 through 31 team did it when the championship was determined by league standings, but the 1965 through 67 team accomplished this under the league playoff system, which was implemented in 1933. Supported by 3 of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers, we have been spoiled with some of the most successful signal callers under center that this league has ever seen. And just in the last 28 seasons alone, we've been to the playoffs 20 times. We've had 13 division champions, appeared in 3 Super Bowls. We won 2 of those. Brett Favre was league MVP 3 times and named to 11 Pro Bowls. And Aaron Rodgers has been league MVP 2 times and named to 8 Pro Bowls.
I mean, they're legends. I mean, DeFavre and the Rodgers.
Right.
Everyone roots for them.
This is insanity. 28 years, 20 playoff appearances, and all of these other notable accolades. And that's 2 quarterbacks.
Right.
That's not Chicago Bears and Cleveland Browns status of like 30 quarterbacks apiece going through damn near 2 a year. I mean, we're talking about 2 quarterbacks that are typically referred to as, Iron Men. Rodgers has had his more recent bouts of unhealthiness and injuries and stuff that's kept him off the field. And then relationship status that's kept him a little bit out of the game as well.
Danica.
They broke up though, like 2 days ago.
I had no idea. I didn't hear that.
Like 2 days ago.
Really?
You heard it here first.
Oh, wow.
This is 2 days ago as of the date we're recording.
Wow.
So this might be weeks ago when you're hearing this.
A crazy thing about Danica, did you know she's from Beloit, Wisconsin?
She is, yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah, and I don't ever blame any of the significant others of Aaron Rodgers for any of his distractions. This is on him alone. Generally, if you're a performer on this caliber of a team, you should have the wherewithal to keep a level head, put personal stuff aside, and get on the effing field and play the damn game. If you were part of the Lombardi era, he would tell you that exact same thing. And you know what? He would also tell you, when you get in the end zone, act like you've been there before. None of that showboat and gloating, stuff that they do in the league now.
Yeah.
You get in the end zone, you put the ball down, and you get back to the sidelines. Don't waste any of your energy. Don't blow out a hammy doing a stupid electric slide, dance in the end zone. Put your stupid big boy pants on and let's act like adults here. And it's crazy. It's just nuts that we as an organization have been so spoiled with the success with these individuals who have been so good. Now, we recently drafted a new quarterback that is, for all intents and purposes, the heir apparent to the quarterback spot, Jordan Love. He looks to be, on film, really good. And I hope that it's just like what we all felt, going from Favre to Rodgers. Everybody loved Brett Favre. And if you don't, you're lying to yourself. There's only two type of people that exist in this world. People that loved Brett Favre and talk about it. And then there's people that loved Brett Favre, but in the public kept saying, well, I don't really like that guy. He's a big whiner. Nope. You love Brett Favre and you're a closet Favreaholic just like the rest of us. Brett Favre is, and I will go on record saying, the greatest football player in NFL history.
I have to agree with that. I mean, a lot of people just are angry because he went to the Vikings. But really, I mean, I get it.
And here's the thing. That can all be attributed back to Ted Thompson and the Packers organization not wanting to rest, and leave this Rodgers talent sitting on the bench. I get it. You hired in a guy that is wasting away in your perception sitting on the bench. Favre isn't his guy. Favre was not a Ted Thompson guy. That was Ron Wolf. When Ron Wolf took over as GM for the Packers, the first move he made was to go get Brett Favre from the Atlanta Falcons, from Jerry Glanville, who was using him as a sideshow on the road to throw footballs up to the third deck in stadiums. That's not something you need to do. You go out and you get Brett Favre to back up the then Don Majkowski, the Magic Man, and everybody thought, okay, this, why did they go out and waste a first round, pick trading for this guy? Now you see it.
Oh, for sure.
Now you see why. And who knew it back then was Ron Wolf. That guy was an absolute mastermind. He's also the reason why we got Reggie White. Tell me he's not the Minister of Defense.
Oh, right.
He's one of the, if not the greatest defense, players in NFL history.
I always think about it this way. So the mid-90s Packers were like the Chicago Bulls of the 90s for me. I mean, you had Gilbert Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, Reggie White, Brett Favre. I mean, these guys.
Robert Brooks.
Oh, Robert Brooks. I mean,
Mark
just
Chmura.
So many of them.
You had Dorsey Levens.
Dude.
And you had, just an all-star cast of players that, I don't know, maybe in any other football team, maybe they don't even make the starting lineup.
Right.
But you put them all together and it just works. We also spent, big money on some other names. There was a tight end, Jackson. I mean, we went out and we did some stuff that, it was like the 94-95 season. Reggie White was like the first of the ones that, holy cow, they're really making moves.
Yeah.
And as a small market team, as we've already said, the Packers weren't known for making splash headlines on trying to grab players off the free agent market or trading guys. They were relatively known as, we're going to, get hometown talent. We're going to farm them up, and then, we're going to see these guys in a couple seasons.
And honestly,
not trading.
Like Lambeau Field is one of those stadiums where you actually can't get a ticket. I mean, it's booked for years in advance to get a season ticket.
Right.
It's the only one. And I've been all over the United States. I like to travel. It's one of my things, road tripping. And anywhere you go in the United States, you will find a Packers fan.
You'll find a Packers bar.
There
is a whole establishment in just about every damn big city that is meant to be a place of worship for the Green Bay Packers and all of the fans that exist all around the entire world. You go to other countries and find Packers bars. And the only other team in the entire league that has something like that of a cult following is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically Packers and the Steelers.
Exactly. And one of my favorite memories actually with the Packers, so we were traveling, we did a road trip. We took, the route across, we got to California, and we wanted to see a Packers game.
Mm-hmm.
We were just south of LA. We're like, all right, let's stop in this bar and let's go see the Packers while we're going up the coast to San Francisco, We were the only two Packers fans. They're playing the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
I literally thought I was going to get murdered, but we were still rooting on. I don't care, dude.
I mean, if you're in the Oakland Coliseum watching the game and you're wearing the green and gold, there's a chance that you're getting stabbed.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling you're a little bit more safe when you're not in the home of the Raiders.
That's true.
Yeah.
For sure.
But otherwise, you definitely would have been dead. So today, roughly 361,311 people own 5,009,518 shares of the Green Bay Packers. So again, like we mentioned before, these are investors who own the team. And they are the fans and the different community members around. And again, like I said, to this day, people still own the team, not a private investment, not a private owner. We're the only league or the only team in the league that has that.
The cool thing is too, it's not just Wisconsin. People all over the United States own these shares.
Right.
It's not just here.
So they had 5 individual stock sales in the history of the Packers. One in 1923, 1935, 1950, 1997, and the most recent being in 2011. Now, a lot of the money is used to make advancements to Lambeau Field, make it a better attraction for people to come from all around to see the games. They have, built like the Don Hutson practice field and that and everything that exists down there is because of these public stock shares that they make these public sales and gather all this money. Really, all you get is a piece of paper. A commemorative piece of paper that says, I own one or how many ever shares you bought of the Green Bay Packers. You don't physically own. There is no return. There's no profit sharing or anything like that. It's just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
You're just giving back to the team.
Right.
And that's honestly what they need is, especially just being this, publicly owned team. They don't have all of the same dollars and cents that all of these other people have. So I want to take this time to talk about some of the notable players in Packer history that have been inducted and enshrined into the Hall of Fame. So, of course, we have Earl Curly Lambeau. Obviously, he's the founder and a coach of the Green Bay Packers. We have Johnny Blood, another really phenomenal defensive player. Don Hutson, he's another really great defensive player for the Green Bay Packers. Excuse me, Johnny Blood was a halfback, not a defensive player. And then we have, let's see, Vince Lombardi, of course. And then there's Jim Taylor, notable fullback again. That guy is absolutely phenomenal. Going back and watching film from the early days, and there are some really decent stories about Jim Taylor being, the running back, and I think he even maybe got drunk one time before a really important game, thinking that one of the newer guys was going to start over him, and then the newer guy ended up getting sick. So then he had to go out and perform the next day, completely hungover, and he scored 2 or 3 touchdowns.
That's awesome.
Forrest Gregg, he's a tackle. Bart Starr, Ray Nitschke, Herb Adderley, Willie Davis, Paul Hornung, another halfback that was I believe he was the he might have actually been the one that went out and got drunk that time, and then Jim Taylor was the newer guy. But Willie Wood, we've got Henry Jordan, James Lofton, and then of course we start getting into the more modern era guys, Reggie White, and then we've got Dave Robinson, Ron Wolf, who I spoke of before, former vice president and general manager of the team. Made some amazing changes to this team to give us that winning history again after falling off for like 30 years or something. Then we get into the greatest football player of all time, Brett Favre. We have Jerry Kramer, who I think we just recently lost Jerry Kramer. And then we have some of the players' numbers that have been retired over the the last few seasons as well. Reggie White, Brett Favre, the list just goes on of these individuals who just have made a massive name and notoriety to the Green Bay Packers, making us feel like a real established team in this incredibly small market.
Yeah, I mean, everyone here in Wisconsin has such pride in the game. I was telling Sturgeon to kind of keep this limited because of me and him could talk 10 parts episodes of the Packers. We both love the Packers.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the details that are leading up to certain things that we've already mentioned, those things might have been left out. If you have a moment, go to the Green Bay Packers website. They talk all about the history of the Green Bay Packers. There's incredible videos that they've produced over the last decade that people get on camera. All of the individuals that we just named are basically in these documentaries that are just totally encompassing the history, whereas we just scratched the surface. I really wanted to take this moment too to ask Russ, my co-host here, what are some of your notable Packers memories?
I've only been to two games with my dad and my stepmom. And I mean, that was just an experience all in itself. I mean, it's crazy because there are no open seats in Lambeau Field.
Ever.
And the one game we went to, I think it was 30 degrees. And like the majority of the stand didn't have shirt-ons. Like I always say, 30s, no shirties. That's kind of my saying. And it was just nuts. And obviously, I come from a household of Packers fans shouting, yelling, sipping a couple Miller Lights. Like that was just kind of how I was raised. So I can't wait to give that on to my kids and let them, enjoy the Packers as much as I had my whole life.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of this stems from is just being able to pass it down through, some of these traditions that people build around what I'm going to say is watching games on Sundays. Packers on Sundays. Now, not all the games are on Sundays. You've got, Thursdays, you've got Mondays, you've got some Saturdays for playoffs, but it's that tradition of Packer Sunday, Packer football Sunday. I remember one time being at your dad's house, and it was what now is known as the last game for the Packers for Brett Favre. Now, this is the NFC Championship game. We are facing the New York Giants with Manning as the quarterback out there. They have an amazing team. I mean, they clearly have beaten Tom Brady in a couple Super Bowls, which is a feat of its own. But on this particular game, it was cold. It was rough. It's in Lambeau. Brett Favre isn't playing the greatest game of his career. On the last and final play of this game, Brett Favre throws, this Hail Mary of a type, last second throw that maybe we'll win, maybe we won't. At the time, the game was, the score was 23-20. The Packers are down by a field goal. They're not within field goal range. So the quarterback has to make something happen. He doesn't pick the greatest, spot to throw the ball. The Giants have an amazing defense at this time running on this play. He throws a pretty terrible duck pass to David Tyree, I believe, of the New York Giants, ending the Packer season that year. And like I said, eventually ending his career, right there for the Packers. But I remember the absolute pandemonium and uproar at your house.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we were in Lambeau at the moment because it was so loud.
I mean, I sank a couple beers after. It was pretty depressing. I love the Packers, man. It was so down.
The depression that set in after that game was one for the ages.
Yeah, I mean,
wasn't easy to get over.
In Wisconsin, when the Packers lose, you can just tell at work everyone's just down in the dumps. It's just how it is here.
Yeah, I mean, we carry it for a while. It lasts until at least Tuesday or Wednesday, until we start prepping for the next game. Another fantastic moment I have was a playoff game against the 49ers. I've referenced it on this podcast before. But this was, I believe, 2014, Packers versus 49ers in Lambeau. It's like one of the top 10 coldest games in Lambeau history. At kickoff, it's like 18 below, and it just feels like you're gonna die. I'm wearing not enough clothing. I'm asking people around me for gloves or mittens during the thing. They had covered both the floor and your bench seat with something to make it a little more thermal. It was just an amazing experience. That's one of many playoff games that I've been to there. It's one of many, many games in general that I've been to at Lambeau Field. And I'll admit, I mean, it's just a different atmosphere. When you are in the stadium, you are brothers and sisters with everybody around you, and you're all watching what is going to be some sort of history. Somebody's going to talk about whatever game you're at in the future. It doesn't end then after 4 quarters. It's just something special. And I can't believe that we have that here in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
For sure.
All right. Now we have another music segment. This band comes to us from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This band is Honey Creek. These guys are young. They are really, really good at pop punk music. This stuff sounds exactly like Newfound Glory, Knuckle Deep, Rome. There's a bunch of these bands out right now that are pretty small in comparison to what pop punk used to be back in like the early 2000s. You and I both were huge fans of pop punk movement.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Newfound Glory, Motion City Soundtrack, Blink-182, early Fall Out Boy, not more recent stuff, but
yeah,
all just massive, massive bands. And now it seems like the genre has taken maybe a little bit of a back seat to some of the other pop stuff and like rap and hip hop, but all the better because I love the fact that we're able to listen to these amazing bands, and especially with the music scene in Milwaukee. Honey Creek has played a bunch of shows with like Telethon and Brave You. So I've seen them a number of times on the same stages as these guys that I know personally. So the band Honey Creek, like I said, amazing musicianship. Their drummer Donnie, he's been fill-in for Telethon on some shows. And I think the bassist of Telethon, Alex Mylink, he's been a fill-in for other spots on their stuff. It's just an amazing culture here in Milwaukee with this music scene, and they're all playing, these pop punk, power pop type of stuff that it just is. It feels like to me in my heart a great resurgence of one of the best genres of music, and they do it with those hard chugging power chords and just infectious hooks for lyrics, and it's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, we've been so lucky on this podcast. We've been getting like the top of the top Wisconsin bands,
the cream of the crop.
Oh, for sure. I mean, these are the best, and like these guys are awesome.
Yeah, I work with the guitarist's aunt also for Honey Creek. So these guys are just phenomenal. I couldn't think of a more fitting band to throw in here because they are absolutely phenomenal, and they fit in right where you and I used to try to play this type of stuff. We never hit this type of quality. But these guys are great, and I hope you enjoy. Again, this is Honey Creek, and the song is The Time It Took.
Stop smoking cigarettes for 2 weeks, and I actually felt good for once. Can you trust me? I know I messed up, I know it's my fault, and I should just stop. Move on, find a better way to spend my time. Catch up on the things that hold me down. This past year's felt like the longest of my life. I never took the time. Put your feelings before mine. I wanna know what it tastes like when the timing, the place, it all feels right. I never took the time, and it's weighing on my mind. And I've been pacing myself now, but I've been feeling so run down. I'm not happy with this, I know I'm better than this. I'm worth more than all my excuses. I'll light a match and blend the fire when I burn down the house. And I'll be gone before it burns out. This past year's felt like the longest of my life. I never took the time. Put your feelings before mine. I wanna know what it tastes like when the timing, the place, it all feels right. I never took the time, and it's weighing on my mind. And I've been getting through these bad moods. I've been seeing the value of what I've been through, and I've been working on my attitude. So maybe next time I can make it up to you.
All right. Again, the music you just heard was from the band Honey Creek, and the song was The Time It Took. Definitely go check out the rest of their stuff. They have a couple different albums, a couple of EPs. They are on Bandcamp. They are on Spotify. They've got videos up on YouTube. Check out Honey Creek. They are local in Milwaukee. Awesome. We now have a beer review segment.
So today we're drinking the Hazy IPA from City Lights Brewing Company. It's a 7% alcohol by volume. Quite a tasty beer. It has a whole bunch of hops in it. It has Citra, Mosaic, and Amarillo hops in a whirlpool, and is double dry hopped with Eldorado and Vic Secret. Lend tropical and juicy notes from these beautiful hops. The bitterness is not too bad. It's pretty flavorful. It has a great aroma. When you open the beer, you're getting this initial like fruity scent. It's really good.
Yeah.
It goes down easy, and at 7%, sometimes these can be a little kicker.
Yeah, and it's not so like some of the ones that we've had recently. There's no real aftertaste or after hit on the back of the tongue of anything citrusy or anything. It's really hop forward, and it's hop throughout. So it starts off with the most bitterness at the beginning of it, and then it sort of tapers as you let it rest.
Yeah, it's very well balanced. It's not too much. It's enough where it's tasty. It's one of those ones you can drink. Summer heat. Another one where, you're not going to want to be doing the roof work when you're drinking too many of these bad boys.
Yeah,
but
you're going to be tumbling off the pitch on that one.
Yeah, you don't want to be climbing ladders. But yeah, if you don't know, City Lights is actually in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was established in 2016. It's just downtown. We've been really wanting to go check this place out, and hopefully we'll have them on a future show.
Yeah, when you see it off the highway, it's got quite a cool look. It's right off of the main drag there. Russ just spilled on himself.
Man.
It's right off the main drag, right off the highway. You see it like just after you get past Miller Park, and then just after Potawatomi, and then off to the right you see that City Lights. It's just a cool old building that they've sort of inhabited, and like Russ said, it's been around since 2016, so they're relatively new. But again, it's one of those it's one of those breweries that's really taken off. It's not still in that like infancy period, or to us it doesn't seem that way, because they've had so many great beers, they've had so many great events out there. So it's an absolutely amazing brewery right here in the state of Wisconsin, and even more so right near us in Milwaukee. So definitely check it out. Their Facebook page is where they announce most of their events and most things that they're going to have for the week or for the month. I know with COVID, again, a lot of things are a little more uncertain, and there's not a whole lot of like live action going on. But once again, mark this thing down on a list. Keep track of things that you need to check out. This one is definitely a great event, a great venue rather.
Yeah, and I think this one's available all year round. I've seen it in the winter months.
Yeah, the hazy's available. Yep.
So you can get it anytime. And we're really not beer snobs. We just really want to encourage you to go and maybe try something new and explore. Like me and Eric, we drink junk beer too. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I mean we're certainly not always grabbing a craft beer or a microbrew. Our pinkies aren't up. We don't turn our face to a classic Busch Light. Busch Latte, as a lot of people
Nectar of the
refer to
Gods.
the nectar of the gods. We're not above a Bud Light or a Miller Light. Honestly, whatever your host is providing, you drink. And when I buy a cube of beer, it's typically of the Busch Light fashion, and then I have these additional kind of craft microbrews as that one or two that, hey, you know what? It's a rough day. You can slug down one of these beers and just be mellow and chill.
Yeah, I kind of, if I'm going to be day drinking all day, I like to start out with two good, like, craft beers, like, spend that extra loot, get a little more ABV. Then you can switch back to that, like, just watery beer,
Be a little bit lighter on it for the remainder of the day.
Yeah, because you kind of get, like, that little buzz going. You just keep it going with those lights.
And you don't want to just be, stumbling around
right
after drinking 10 of these other things. That's just a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 10 of these, you'll be laying somewhere in the yard. Your wife or a significant other is gonna have to be waking you up
out cold
for sure.
Yeah.
But again, that was Hazy IPA from City Lights Brewing Company. Check it out, grab it wherever you get your beer from, and yeah,
absolutely. So we have another edition of How Many Loco You At. Today's How Many Loco You At is a little different. It's a little intriguing. Some might say it's even a little risque, if you will. Probably not for the reasons that you immediately think when I say risque or taboo, but today's episode, or today's story, comes to us from the Platteville area. In fact, a Platteville police officer was arrested for intoxicated driving. So a Grant County sheriff tells the 27 News Department that a deputy was arrested on October 23rd for a first offense OWI. The Grant County deputy was driving south shortly before midnight on October 23rd near U.S. Highway 151 and near County O, when he met a vehicle traveling north in the southbound lane. I want to repeat that, north in the southbound lane. At the same time, the Grant County Communications Center also received an emergency call about the same vehicle. So multiple people have seen this guy driving a little outside his lane, just a bit outside.
He's going hard, rigid.
The deputy stopped the vehicle near Hummingbird Lane, and the deputy was later arrested and released later to a responsible party. So let me just preface all of this by saying nobody is immune to the arrest and conviction of OWI. It doesn't matter who you are in the state of Wisconsin. If you are drunk driving, you will be caught and you will be arrested, even if you are a police officer or somebody of the law. So, Russ, can you give me your best guess. I mean, we don't have a breathalyzer. We don't have any of that. We do know that he was driving in the wrong lane. So what do you believe the loco level is here?
So the local level, in my opinion, probably 2.5 cans. I'm guessing a 10 loco here, because a local, like one loco enough will make you do some wild stuff.
Yeah.
2 cans, oof. And you add that extra half in there, you're going north on the south.
I was just gonna say, when you do a 1 can, things start to get a little weird. When you get it through with the 2nd can, things are really, really starting to get difficult. Most normal individuals will think to themselves and still have kind of that sound mind to say, I don't need to be getting behind the wheel of any sort of motorized vehicle. You get that additional half can. You're at that 2.5. Now all of a sudden, all judgment is impaired and you have no ability to think freely and rationally. You are in the wrong lane.
Satan, take the wheel. I mean, that's pretty much it at that point.
Yeah, I agree. And I believe you hit this one directly on the head. This is a 2.5 loco without any question.
Yeah, it's a dangerous level. I don't recommend, if you're a local drinker, that's cool. We're not judging you. That's fine. Just be very wary that a local will mess you up.
Yeah, I believe the common phrasing is, hey, you play with loco, you wind up burned.
Oh, for sure. I don't know if that's it, but that should be on the cans.
It's close.
Cool. So we're here with Tom from CheezHead Brewing in Beloit, Wisconsin. Can you give us a little bit information about your brewery, any events coming up, new beers, and current hours you currently have?
Okay, well, the last one I'll answer first. Our current hours are Thursday through Sunday. We open at 3 o'clock on Thursday and Friday, and then we're opening at 10 a.m. on Saturdays now because the farmers market is going on, and noon on Sundays. So we stay open until 11 o'clock on Friday and Saturday night as well. So new beers, to be honest, are a little bit of a struggle. We have our IPAs coming out. It's been hard for us to get those beers because we're a contract brewer. So, of course, during the COVID shutdown, everything was kind of shut down from that production as well. And then a surge happened, and everybody then wants to get in the production line. So we just came out with Cherry Alvarez a couple weeks ago, which was kind of in the queue during March, and we just let it stay in the fermenters during the whole shutdown. So, we're excited to try and get out with our Mango Habanero, which we had in January and February. That's due to come out in the next couple of weeks as well as a session IPA.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So I have yet to check it out, but we actually live on 213 there in Beloit. We've been meaning to come in and check it out. Any events or anything coming up that you guys have? I know COVID's been kind of a downer for everyone recently, but
no, we occasionally have some music on Saturday nights, live music. That's usually updated with our Facebook page, and Visit Beloit will put something out if we put it out in time for them. But no, we don't really have anything. We were trying to get a trivia night going, and there was a great trivia night over at Bushel and Peck, and when that shut down, the group, a lot of the members that were going there asked me to get involved with the trivia night, but everybody's kind of asking to hold off till we know, we can get 70 or 80 people in one room, quite frankly. That's a concern. So we will be having a bags league here in a few weeks on Wednesdays, and a trivia night on Thursday, but the trivia night is on hold, as I mentioned.
And also we love the name of the brewery. We're both huge Packers fans, so we love the name.
Right, yeah. So we're definitely a Wisconsin themed tap room, and now we're building into our restaurant And we've just acquired our brewing equipment too. So we'll be brewing on site as soon as we can get that permitting process going. We received our 2-barrel brew system last week. But yeah, it's definitely our beers are kind of named after Wisconsin icons like State Street Stout, Holy Cow, which is a chocolate porter, Cherry Alvarez again is a cherry chocolate porter. So and Roses Are Red is our red ale, which is our most popular beer, but it's of course meant to be similar to the Rose Bowl. So yeah, it's all about either Badger or Packer or just Wisconsin in general.
That's what we're all about. That's awesome. I love those names.
Yeah. So our food is locally sourced too as much as possible. We do. You're probably familiar with Decatur Dairy.
Of course.
All of our we do kind of grown-up grilled cheese, you may call it, or panini grilled cheeses, which are quite massive. We use local breads when we can from Bagels and More, and then Decatur Dairy, and we pile it on 3 layers, not 1 layer, but 3 layers thick. It's like a cheese, lava volcano. When you cut it in half, it's really just awesome. It's a meal, literally, in itself.
Awesome.
We use Newski's bacon, if you're familiar with Newski's. So we use the local bacon and locally sourced meats when we're able to. And we have a huge smoker. We smoke meats on weekends. And again, try to use local source meats when we can. So it's all about Wisconsin for sure.
I love it.
Yeah, that's great. It's exactly what we're all about. We're trying to promote, people getting out there, checking out new breweries, new beers, local beers. You spend that extra few dollars, you get a better quality beer on top of it,
Yeah. Of course, our guest beers are Wisconsin tap beers, craft beers as well. So
great.
yeah, and we try and mix that up a little bit as best we can. We always try and keep a couple Potosi's on tap. They're a great beer story, but we use Steel Tank, and we've used Brewfinity, and of course we do have Spotted Cow on tap. That's our one regular that we'll keep just because it's appealing to the Illinois guests that come in.
Yeah,
too, so.
yeah. And yeah, actually, we're really good friends with the Potosi people. We just had them on one of our shows, and they're all really good people. So
yeah, well, and they make some good beers too. We just put their IPA on tap, and we've had their Golden Ale on tap for quite a while. That's a nice beer for people that come in with a friend or a spouse or something where they don't really want a heavily hot beer or a dark craft beer, but that Golden Ale is nice when someone says, I just want something kind of simple.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we use Potosi always.
All right, Tom, and before we let you go, we always do our segment, How Wisconsin Are You? And we have a few questions to see how you fare, if you're ready.
Okay, I don't know. I have to tell you, I do have bronchitis. I kind of forgot about this. I'm a little under the weather. So
oh, it's okay.
Give me a break. Talk slowly.
All right. Have you ever tailgated at a Brewers, Packers, or Badgers game?
2 of the 3, yes.
Great. So you almost hit the trifecta. You're almost there. You got it. And then so obviously beer brats are a big thing in Wisconsin. What kind of beer do you usually use with your beer brat?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. We smoke our brats at CheezHead, which gives it a whole different dynamic. All that juicy fat stays inside, and it's crisp on the outside like a Chicago hot dog. But if I do, it would be something simple like our red ale.
Awesome.
We do bacon wrap brats, and they are better than any brat you've had in a long time. I promise. Everybody says that because we smoke them. We don't boil them. Because when you boil them, you boil out the fat. All the good flavor goes out with it. So
I will definitely try that. I am looking forward to that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way it was done, 100 years ago. So anyway, yes.
So have you ever operated a snowblower?
Of course. Yes.
I know that's an easy question, honestly. So this
plow. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So this you've probably answered this already. Obviously, you use Decatur cheese, but have you ever had a squeaky cheese curd?
Oh yes, that's the only way to have. When they're fresh, they're squeaky.
I know.
Right.
They just like rub it. They're like the freshest. They're salty. They have like a little water left. They're so good.
Yeah, we said we do sell Decatur dairy cheese curds at our place too.
Oh, they're so good. We just went there probably a week ago. I love that place, honestly.
It's awesome. Yeah, it is awesome.
All right, next question. Have you ever hit a deer?
Actually, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have.
that's
I
a
was
standard
43
Wisconsin thing.
in a boss's car when I was young. Yeah,
Oh,
actually,
man.
I did.
Oh man.
All right, the next question. How do you like your old fashioned?
Sweet.
Sweet. Do you use brandy or whiskey?
Oh, brandy. Of course, brandy.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Wisconsin way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought that was a given.
Yeah.
Right.
And we just had somebody on that was just stating that he likes his whiskey, but that is the original recipe. But in Wisconsin, you can't have a non-blackberry brandy old fashioned. You have to
Right.
have them once in a while.
The brandy is the key, I think.
Yeah, it is. So true.
All right. How do you like your Bloody Mary? And do you use a mix or do you kind of make it from scratch?
I like to use Beepa's Bloody Mary mix. Beepa's is a Beloit company, and they make a Bloody Mary mix, and I like it spicy.
Yeah, same here. We like this one. It's not really a Beloit or local, but it's Jimmy Loves. And I remember that thing just burns. But I'm going to have to try this Beloit company. I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won first place at State Fair last year for I think it was their pickled vegetables, but we do their pickled vegetables too. So it's a really neat. It's worth a try. You can go to the Piggly Wiggly and find it.
Nice. That's a hell of an accolade to win too. Best, that's
There's
a
so many.
huge thing in Wisconsin.
There's so many of them out there. I mean,
Yeah. Well, again, if you're all about Wisconsin, they won first place last year, and so they're reigning champs since there's no State Fair this year.
Well, we're definitely gonna try that now.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What is your favorite Wisconsin supper club? It's always a tough question, but we got to ask.
Well, I'm from Beloit. I like the 615 and Benedetti's.
Those are both good ones. Have you ever been to the Butterfly Club?
Oh, well, actually, yeah, of course, there. Yeah, I would say that's kind of my fave too. Yeah, that's really nice in the summer with the outdoor seating. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I like 615 just as much. Their environment is a little nicer. I think the Butterfly Club has a little bit of that that little live music, the piano thing going for it, but
Right.
harder to
Well,
get in.
actually, I do have to go to the Butterfly now because the green chairs there and that whole nothing has changed in 30 or 40 years.
Right.
I like that.
I love that.
All
Yeah.
right, all right,
That's all
Tom.
good.
I got one more question before we let you go today. So, besides your brewery, what is a brewery tour you recommend for somebody to check out?
Well, it's probably the smallest brewery tour, but I like One Barrel Brewing a lot. I will model my brewer after him. It's in Madison. They literally have One Barrel, if you've been there, a One Barrel brew house. They're right off State Street.
I've definitely had some of their beers, and they're all really well crafted, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so. No, Tom, go ahead.
Lakefront is real nice too.
Lakefront's a really good one. I always like the Laverne and Shirley that
Yeah.
you sing at the end.
Yeah.
But Tom, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. We hope to make it down there soon and come visit you guys.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the call.
Thank you,
Have a
Tom.
great day.
Thank you for your
Thanks.
time.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. So we have another edition of This Day in Wisco History. So on August 2nd is when the Great Lone Ranger appeared at the Rock County Fair. So this was in 1961, and with a cloud of dust and a mighty "Hi-ho, Silver!" the Lone Ranger and his horse, Silver, appeared at the Rock County 4-H Fair. At the time, the Lone Ranger was played by actor Clayton Moore, masked horseman, champion of law and order. It was a big hit, playing in 2 shows to a packed grandstand. If you haven't been to the Rock County Fair, it's actually pretty cool. They end up getting quite a few really great country artists that come and play. And I mean, like all other fairs, county fairs, they have all of their other 4-H stuff, all of the different things that they do for showing animals. So it's a fun time. But in this particular instance, in 1961, on August 2nd, the Lone Ranger was a main stage act.
That's really cool. Yeah, I've seen a few really good acts there actually at the Rock County Fair. I think I've seen Travis Tritt one time, who's actually pretty decent.
Big name, yeah.
And I've seen like some of those 80s hair metal bands, like Tesla and I think maybe Whitesnake.
Sure. After the 80s for them.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Eric, I think, Pasley, and he was like the one that it stood out to me. He was a big name country artist a few years ago. I think 2016 was when I went the last time. I haven't been to a lot of county fairs since then, but at the time, in 2016, I was coming out to your house quite a bit in Janesville, and you pass right by the Rock County Fair grounds, and I happened to notice that he was going to be there, and he had a couple really good songs on the country charts. I figured, why the hell not?
Yeah, for sure. It's a smaller one, but it's a really good one. I recommend you guys check it out.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. All right, that concludes this episode of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast.
If you enjoyed this vulgar display of Wisconsin, we recommend you subscribe via SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn.
Also, leave us a review on any one of those above-mentioned sites, and we can read one at the end of every show. Follow us on social media, and feel free to reach out, especially if there is a piece of history or weird news you'd love us to share or research, as well as highlight some local artists or music. Our website is projectcapestudio.com.
I'd also like to thank my friend and past coworker, Steph Skiback, for providing us with awesome podcast cover art, as well as the Dangits for intro and outro music, and all of you for listening. As always,
Watch out for deer on the way home.